Good morning, everybody. I'm Ben Cunningham. That feels a lot better. You can never be too safe. Good morning, everyone. You're probably wondering who I am. I bet I sure don't look like Janet Morrison. If you're looking for Sheridan's Welcome Back Breakfast, don't worry, you're in the right place. I'm not Zoom bombing you, and you're not Zoom bombing me. My name is James Cunningham. I'm a comedian and graduate of the Theatre and Drama Studies, a joint program between Sheridan and the University of Toronto at Mississauga. If you're a foodie like me, you might also recognize me from my days of hosting 5 seasons of Eat Street on the Food Network in Canada that's also aired in about a dozen countries worldwide. I'm very happy to be your host for today's event, which is the unofficial kickoff of, let's be honest, we might as well call it the no pants semester. In fact, right now, I'm not wearing pants to bond with you at home. I'm thrilled to join you this morning in these highly unusual times for what promises to be anything but the usual welcome back breakfast. For starters, there's no breakfast, unless you got up really early to make your own. No doubt you're also disappointed that you can't be with your colleagues today in person, but that would be one gigantic and completely illegal social bubble, so we decided against it, unfortunately. Trust me, I understand how you feel. I've been stuck in this cramped journalism studio here at the Trafalgar campus, all by myself with just this robot camera and nothing but a kettle and some instant ramen noodles trying to get ready for this show. So, no pressure, but I hope you enjoy it. Before we get started, I've been asked to share some tips to ensure that you have an optimal viewing experience. Number 1, please turn your sound up and minimize or close any other windows that you have open. You'll also want to view this event in full screen because, let's face it, I'm beautiful. To expand your window, click on the little box located in the bottom right corner of the screening window. Clearly, some of the event is going to feel a little different, but the good news is that we're still doing a lot of things that will feel very familiar. Something you'll probably notice already if you've maximized your screen is the ticker tape of names running along the bottom of the screen. That's how we're presenting this year's list of employee accomplishments, just like they do on CP24. Why not? We're here in a newsroom. To suit this new format, we had to be pretty ruthless editors and make these accomplishments short so they could fit on the screen. But don't worry, you can read the full list in all of its glorious detail in the wrap-up article about this event in next week's Insider. Before we get started, it's my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Sherry Wareham, Strategic Lead for the S-Factor Framework, to offer our Indigenous Land Acknowledgement. Sherry?
We acknowledge that Sheridan College, host of today's virtual event, sits on the treaty territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and 6 nations of the Grand River, as well as the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Nation, Haudenosaunee, and Wendat Confederacies, and the lands of many other Indigenous people who passed through or who called and still called this land their home. This territory is part of the Dish with One Spoon Treaty, an agreement between the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. In making this statement, we acknowledge and we honor that these lands carry the truth of lives taken and the agreements that were broken, and the wisdom of ancestors whose spirits live on in the soil, in the animals, and the vegetation. In stepping on this land, we seek both forgiveness and permission from these ancestors with the agreement that we have the responsibility to honor and to respect all who are here now and all who have yet to come. Recognizing that in many ways, these lands remain restricted from teachings, resources, and development in partnership with Indigenous peoples. We are grateful for the opportunity we have to live, to receive gifts from, to work on, and to benefit from this land.
Thank you, Sherry, for so eloquently recognizing the original occupants of this very sacred and special place. We appreciate your guidance in helping us understand the deep respect for this land, showing us what it means to be accountable and self-reflective as a first step towards reconciliation. Next, I'd like to welcome John Fleming, who will share a few words of welcome and gratitude from our Board of Governors, and a very special welcome to our newest employees. John?
Thank you, James, and good morning, everyone. Wow, you're back. We are back. On behalf of Sheridan's Board of Governors, I'm happy to join in the annual Welcome Back event, and especially to acknowledge and congratulate all members of the Sheridan community for the tremendous resilience you've shown in adapting to the challenges of the past 5 months. I have never been more proud. As we all know, there's sure no playbook for operating an educational institution through a simultaneous global health pandemic and financial crisis. Our entire board also understands and appreciates the challenges you've all overcome to rapidly shift delivery models and balance home and work commitments while maintaining Sheridan's high standards of integrity and quality. Through your example, you are building on the rich history of creativity and innovation that has guided our institution for the past 53 years and demonstrating in real time the values embodied in the Sheridan 2024 strategic plan. I have full confidence that we are ready to seize and shape the future of post-secondary education, more so now than ever, given the tremendous agility our Sheridan community has demonstrated in responding to challenging times. On behalf of the board, I want to extend our deepest appreciation to the people at the heart of Sheridan, our employees, to whom we owe our enviable reputation and who will play a leading role in moving our institution forward. I'm also delighted to welcome our new employees this fall, most of whom will be joining us on a remote basis, at least in the interim. You will find that Sheridan is a warm and welcoming community, even in these trying times, and we look forward to meeting you in person once our campuses reopen.
It's impossible to have any conversation with John and not be smiling ear to ear. Thank you, John, for your greetings and well wishes. At the start of this program, I promised that there would be some familiar elements. If you've ever attended one of these events in the past, you'll know about Sheridan's tradition of giving away great prizes. Well, this year, all of our prizes support Sheridan's alumni enterprises, local or independent businesses, or feature products that are made right here in Ontario. I'll be announcing prize winners throughout the show, and you'll see the winners' names pop up on the screen here to my left. So, let's get started. The first prize is a handcrafted glass artwork called Garden Flowers by Sheridan alumna Tara Marsh. It's gorgeous. Imagine a little drum roll if you could, maybe get your kids to help you. Our very first winner of our very first prize is... Congratulations, Michelle! We'll be in touch with you after the show to arrange for your home delivery. We are not as fast as Amazon, but we're pretty good. Now, before we dive into any further into the show, we'd like to take a quick moment to recognize a special anniversary. This September marks 20 years of journalism, new media at Sheridan, and this great space that we are broadcasting from this morning. It's absolutely gorgeous. Are you connecting the dots? Since we're crashing these studios right now, we thought we'd give you a quick look behind the scenes at what these amazing facilities can do. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shireen Mansour, journalism professor and coordinator of the Journalism New Media program. This is a very special year for the broadcast facilities at the Oakville campus as we celebrate our 20-year anniversary this month. Housed behind these glass walls lies 2 smart classrooms that can also sub as extra studio space. This is a state-of-the-art Avid HD facility, complete with a television studio and control room that allow us to broadcast to the world. We can streamline immediately to the World Wide Web, as well as to Sheridan TV at any time. Students and faculty in the journalism programs produce television and web content, everything from live and pre-taped shows and interviews to year-end award ceremonies. By simulating a real-world experience, our graduates are work-ready for any job in the television, news, and current affairs industries. Here they learn to write and produce video content, work on radio and podcasts, and can seamlessly go live to social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram. When breaking news or live events call for it, we can send our students into the world with everything they need to go live from location as well. And the facility is perfect for anyone from the Sheridan community who wants to host and record an event. Robotic cameras equipped with teleprompters make it easy to record shows of any kind. We've even added a green screen for weather forecasts or anything else the imagination calls for. This facility is a true gem for our students and the greater Sheridan community alike, making this year's virtual Welcome Back event possible. What a great way to mark our 20th anniversary.
It's our great pleasure now to introduce the Sheridan People Awards. These peer-nominated awards were created to celebrate the people who bring Sheridan to life. To announce the winner, it's my pleasure to turn the screen over to Dr. Janet Morrison, President and Vice Chancellor of Sheridan. Dr. Morrison, take it away.
So thank you, James. We're so pleased to have you here with us this morning. As our board chair, John Fleming, so eloquently noted, our people are at the heart of Sheridan's past, present, and future success. One of the ways that we like to show our gratitude for your contributions is through our annual People Awards. Sheridan's People Awards are normally celebrated in the spring. And while our 2020 ceremony was canceled due to the pandemic, it's my great pleasure to announce the winners of the awards today. This year we had 99 nominees in the 9 award categories. That's such a strong testament to the deep esteem that our community holds for our colleagues. We're going to start with the Bruins Award, which goes to Sheridan's counseling team. This group of 13 staff members has gone above and beyond to support our students during their transition to remote learning. As a team of mental health experts, they work one-on-one with the most vulnerable members of our community. They've also created new groups like Mood Roots, Thriving in Action, and the Worry Group to support people's wellness and make Sheridan a healthier campus community. Well done, team. Our next category is the Orange Ribbon Award. The winner is Nathaniel Barr, a professor of creativity and creative thinking in the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. He's published numerous book chapters, journal articles, and popular press pieces on creativity, gaining an international following along the way. He's a creative problem-solving mentor to students. And as an applied research leader and a scientific advisor to a behavior science consultancy, he's connected Sheridan to creativity researchers around the world. Congratulations, Nathaniel. Our next award recognizes the contributions of our employees to student success, our fundamental purpose. This year's winner is Glenn Clifton, a professor in the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. Glenn is a founding faculty member of the Honors Bachelor of Creative Writing and Publishing. He's earned an envious reputation for his enthusiastic and impassioned teaching style. He's also highly regarded for his ability to support students to creative success and self-assurance as artists. Congratulations, Glenn. I'd now like to present the Truth and Reconciliation Award. I'm delighted to congratulate Farzana Shays and Bethany Osborne from the Faculty of Applied Health and Community Studies. Farzana and Bethany collaborated with the Center for Indigenous Learning and Support to create a series of videos and a report that highlights what it means to be an effective ally in the context of truth and reconciliation. Their work initiated an important dialogue and allowed Indigenous community members to tell their stories and show how they've impacted their own community. Congratulations, Farzana and Bethany. Next up, we recognize the Emerging Leader Award. This year's winner is Ann Coulter, a student transition coordinator from Student Affairs, whose role serves to advance student success as it relates to the first-year experience. Anne applies principles of universal design to cultivate student experiences that are driven by the needs of our diverse population and that remove barriers to participation. She leads with humility, empowers those around her, models empathy and self-compassion, and cultivates commitment and shared purpose. Congratulations, Anne. Moving right along, we come to the Inspirational Leader Award. Judging by the long list of nominees, we are truly blessed to have so many of these individuals in our midst. My heartiest congratulations go out to this year's winner, Christina Meredith, an Associate Dean from Student Affairs. Christina is commended for her ability to ignite passion, personal growth, and her team's ability to critically reflect, connect, and lead with courage. She's created an environment where people feel supported to be curious and experiment in their roles. She's also intensely curious and inclusive, genuinely engages with staff, and has nurtured a team that leverages each other's strengths to reach common goals. Well done, Christina. Our next award celebrates CIRCA, or Scholarship, Research, and Creative Activities. CIRCA is a key differentiator that sets Sheridan apart in the post-secondary landscape. Congratulations to this year's winner, Brandon McFarlane, a professor of creativity and creative thinking from the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. Brandon works tirelessly to develop and execute social innovation-based research projects that allow him to give back to the community in an impactful way. He's the primary investigator for the Theatre Entrepreneurs Networking and Training Program, which has earned federal grant funding. He also provides students with opportunities to develop their applied research skills alongside their program competencies. In fact, 2 of last year's People Award recipients were mentored by him. Congratulations, Brandon. Finally, I come to the awards dedicated by my predecessor, Dr. Mary Priest. The Switch Awards, or Sheridan Women Innovating Through the Creative Heart, come in 2 categories, one for professors and the other for employees. I'm thrilled to announce Sarah Cumming from the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences as the winner of the Switch Professors Award. As a professor of sociology, Sarah expertly introduces students to the discipline and was commissioned by Oxford University Press to write an applied introduction to sociology textbook for college students. Through her work on the federally funded Community Ideas Factory project, she's engaged over 100 stakeholders in Halton's philanthropic sector to unlock new project concepts that promote community well-being. She's been seconded to the role of project manager, community relations at Sheridan to help advise on Sheridan's effort in this important regard. Congratulations, Sarah. The winner of the Employee Switch Award is Rama Isaac, an international student advisor from Student Affairs. Rama is described by her colleagues as a trailblazer. She's one of the founders of the Sheridan International Welcome Festival and spearheaded the launch of the new Sheridan International app. She regularly advises international students on immigration matters and does so through a distinctive mix of information and heart. She's a go-to resource because people trust her judgment, opinion, and depth of character. Congratulations, Rama. As I mentioned at the outset, these awards are just one of the ways that we recognize the contribution of Sheridan's people. Earlier this morning, our board chair welcomed all of our new employees. I'd now like to take this opportunity to say just a few words about our retirees. Thank you. Thank you for all that you have done to bring Sheridan to this point. Many of our retirees have devoted decades of their lives to building Sheridan's legacy. Your contributions are immense. Your knowledge, your expertise are foundational, and you will be truly missed. I invite all retirees to join the Sheridan Retiree Association in order to help you stay connected to both Sheridan and each other. Please also stay tuned for details about our annual Long Service Awards ceremony, where we will have another opportunity to celebrate your myriad contributions in a truly meaningful way.
What's upside down? What do you mean? And we're back. Thank you, Janet. Now, if you weren't one of the fortunate people to be nominated for an award, don't worry. Today could still be your lucky day because we've got some more prizes to give away. Let's start with prize number 2, a Niagara Falls Adventure Pass for 4, including the Niagara Skywheel and 4 Sheridan t-shirts. So if you've got 3 friends, the winner is right here to my right. It's going to be Deborah. Congratulations, Deborah Campbell. We'll talk to you later about getting it to you. Excellent. Prize number 3 is a handcrafted charcuterie river board by local artist Burnt Vibes. And our winner is... Congratulations, Eric. We'll be in touch after the show to arrange for your prize delivery. But great job. As you likely remember, each year during this show, you have the opportunity to hear from your president, who helps set the tone for the academic year ahead. Well, this year, we're thrilled to present this to you as a Q&A and with a fairly recent Sheridan graduate. Maluba Habanyama is an alumna of Sheridan's journalism program and now runs her own blog and podcast. Since leaving Sheridan, she has done work for the CBC, the Huffington Post, Flair Magazine, and MTV. She's also a National Youth Ambassador for CANFAR, the Canadian Foundation for AIDS Research. Maluba has an incredible story. Born in England to Zamibian parents before moving to Canada as a toddler, she was born with HIV, but was raised to keep it a secret. Her feelings of self-doubt and isolation only heightened after losing both of her parents before her 19th birthday. Maluba first disclosed her diagnosis publicly in 2014, and since that time has been a passionate health advocate, fighting both HIV and the related stigma that surrounds it, something she calls a disease in its own right. She educates, she engages, and she empowers all those around her. Please welcome now Maluba Habanyama. Over to you, Maluba.
Thank you so much, James, for that warm welcome. I love your outfit today. Everybody showed off their masks, so I just want to be clear that I have one too, Sheridan brand. I'm so thrilled to be back at Sheridan, even though the halls and studios are so empty. I found myself here. Actually, when I studied my first semester of journalism, that's when I disclosed my status publicly. As James mentioned, I'm a journalism grad, so this is really a homecoming for me. I love this field and I have a passion for storytelling, especially when it empowers others. I also love interviewing people, which is why I'm so honored and I'm here this morning. It's my great pleasure to now have Dr. Morrison join me. Good morning, Dr. Morrison. How are you?
Good morning.
I have 10 questions I'll be asking you today. Questions I believe are on everyone's mind as the new academic year begins. I'd like to start with some context setting. We're at an inflection point in society with so much going around the global pandemic and economic crisis and the social justice awakening. I think it's safe to say post-secondary institutions need to be ready for a fall term that's unlike anything they've ever experienced. This brings me to my first question. There's a lot of public discussion in the news media about universities and colleges reopening and whether or not classes should be held in person or online. There's also been some debate over whether or not public institutions are prioritizing financial gain over students' health. How did Sheridan land on its decision about the delivery of the fall programming?
Well, so before I dive into that answer, Malua, let me just say how deeply impressed I am by your courage and your resilience. Clearly, you found a genuine and powerful way to inspire and instill hope in those around you. And I'm not sure that that's ever been more important than now during this unprecedented moment in history. As is often the case, I have this privilege to talk about how tremendously proud I am of what you and other Sheridan alumni have accomplished. So I think your question was, how did we land on our decisions about the fall? So no doubt, every person watching, you included, has heard what's happening south of the border, where universities like North Carolina insisted on in-person delivery and then flipped to virtual delivery just over a week after students relocated from all corners of the country to be on campus. You know, I can't imagine the impact on learners, their families, but also on the faculty and staff there. Other schools in Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Florida, and California were adamant that they could handle large numbers of students on campus, and yet, as of last week, 750 colleges and universities in the US are reporting over 26,000 cases of COVID in students who returned to on-site learning only in August. In fact, there are more active cases at US post-secondary institutions, at 7 schools alone, more cases than there are in all of Canada. So that's the US, and I appreciate that we've taken a different approach here in Canada to testing, tracing, and prevention. But this is not something we ever want to see happening here. From the beginning, Sheridan's pandemic response and recovery actions have been guided by principles, which we've shared repeatedly through multiple mediums with the entire community. Specifically, we committed early to first and foremost prioritize the health and well-being of our entire learning community, to navigate the pandemic with kindness, compassion, empathy, and generosity, to respect the pillars of our academic plan, namely character, quality, and accountability, and to preserve Sheridan's long-term economic sustainability in ways that lived up to the 4 priorities and the 5 enablers in our new strategic plan. So those guidelines have allowed us to make rapid, consistent, and confident decisions. I also think that they demonstrate our commitment to integrity. The long and the short of it is that we're doing everything we can to deliver the quality people expect from Sheridan, but never at the expense of anyone's health and safety. It's complicated, but on some level, it's clear.
Great, thank you. So what is Sheridan doing to keep people safe then?
Well, from the onset, we've worked very closely with public health authorities at all levels, locally, provincially, federally, to make sure we understand all we can about this virus and how to reduce the risk of transmission. That work has resulted in a framework we've created for the safe reopening of our campuses. That framework aligns with the Ontario Roadmap for reopening the province and with the guidelines we've received from the Ministry of Colleges and Universities. We know that the risk of contracting COVID rises dramatically when people are indoors, when they're in tight quarters, and when there are too many people gathered in the same space. Simply, and honestly, consistent with what you'd expect from a community vested in higher education, we've relied on the science. So in terms of numbers, we have over 18,500 students enrolled this fall. We declared early on that anything that could be taught remotely would be, and that in-person learning would be reserved for programs where learning outcomes or evaluations could not be completed virtually. And so again, focused on the fall, over 5,300 students will be doing some sort of on-campus learning. That's just under 30% of our total expected enrollment. We also have about 400 students who chose to be in residence at Davis and Trafalgar, and we've created ways that allow them to live under the same roof while still respecting physical distancing. We're taking multiple safety precautions, including the self-assessment people need to do before setting foot on campus. That one's linked to our Sheridan app. We're using mechanisms for self-reporting that can help us contact trace, mandatory masks everywhere, controlling the flow of pedestrian movement, and we're implementing even more stringent cleaning protocols. All of this work is critical to keeping people safe.
That's really important. I had to take the self-assessment test this morning, and it's really important, and security was very great. These are challenging times for everyone, and that's really clear. But how do you think that this time of uncertainty impacts young people?
Well, as most of the community knows, I have 2 teenagers at home, so trust me, I get it. I am entirely sympathetic to all the young people out there who feel out of sorts as a result of the pandemic and the dramatic shift and prolonged disruption it's caused. You know, we all have a frame of reference that's built on decades of personal lived experience, being in a school system in which learners are typically physically grouped together in classrooms. You know, learners, all ages, miss their friends, their routines, and frankly, the freedom they never really knew that they had or fully appreciated. Young people are, I think, grieving. This should be one of the most exciting times in a young person's life, when they really assert their independence, when they might be away from home for the first time, and when they're maturing as a person and really coming into their own. And then the pandemic hits. They might see parents, families, friends losing their jobs, or worse, getting sick. And that's a lot to bear for all of us. It's no wonder that rates of anxiety are soaring across all demographics. I'd encourage anyone who is struggling to seek help and to think consciously about self-care. You know, over the course of my life and my career, I've been an advocate for positive mental health and well-being. I don't purport to have all the answers, and I don't always do what I know I need to do. But I always feel better when I stay connected to the people and places that matter to me, when I remain physically active, when I engage in learning, when I give back, and when I take time to pause, to reflect, and to be grateful for what I have. But you know, Maluma, I should really be asking you to give us all advice on this point. I honestly think you're such an incredible role model for what resiliency, courage, and leadership look like in the face of adversity. We all have so much that we could learn from your example. I think your story teaches us about the potential value of adversity. You know, that notion that from great challenge can come unimaginable triumph. So our job as faculty and staff is to create a supportive context where challenge can be navigated and overcome in a way that maximizes personal growth. So you, Maluma, are a testimony in this sense to the incredible potential of higher education. And you know, just to reiterate, I'm so proud to have met you and heard your story.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Morrison. I'm kind of blushing a little bit. I don't know if you can tell. And I do want to say to the young people, that adversity, I was also someone who was, I was in the hospital one day when I was in my semester of my program, and my professors and my classmates helped me through that adversity. It is different. It definitely could be something that you don't, expect, but just like Dr. Morrison said, going through that adversity and those challenges makes you stronger. What advice, Dr. Morrison, do you have for students and parents who are looking to support young people today as they navigate their future?
I talk to parents, like many faculty and staff at Sheridan. I talk to parents and learners, prospective learners, alumni almost daily. I always start out by reminding people that education really is a difference maker. Done right, it's transformational for students, their families, and communities. Study after study demonstrates that attending college or university has a positive impact on people's values, their attitudes, and their quality of life. Attaining a post-secondary credential leads to stronger earnings and better health outcomes. It also results in more engaged and conscious citizens. College and university graduates score higher on measures of tolerance. They have a lower propensity to commit crime, and they're more likely to vote, volunteer, and read to their kids. And those studies hold true even after you account for confounding influences like race, gender, parental income, and prior health status. I believe with all of my being that post-secondary education is always a wise investment, even in the midst of a global pandemic.
Many students have been considering a gap year because they are worried that they won't get an education and an experience worth the investment of their time, energy, and financial resources. I know my journalism experience would benefit me so much, and I recommend it to everybody, but they're thinking this year it's not going to be similar to mine in 2016. What would you tell them?
Well, so, let's be honest. Choosing a post-secondary program is arguably one of the first big life decisions that a person undertakes. So you're right. It makes sense that students are exhibiting some healthy skepticism and scrutiny. Next to buying a house, it's probably the biggest investment that any of us makes. In terms of the value proposition that students and their families can expect from Sheridan this fall, though, I can tell you this. We have a well-earned reputation for trailblazing and changing the game in everything we do, based on 53 years and a track record of success in the sector. We know how to read what industry and society need and how to create programs and pedagogy that prepare students well. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm naive to the fact that learning is going to be different this fall. Without question, remote or hybrid learning changes the student experience. But as I've said multiple times, and will continue to say over and over again, our professors are the absolute best in the business. Our staff are more student-centric, and I believe more caring. Every one of us is committed to providing the same high-quality programming we're known for. At the institutional level, we've made significant investments in new educational software to support remote delivery. We've mobilized 25 staff from our Center for Teaching and Learning to support professors in reorganizing their curricula while still allowing for interaction and engagement. Our philosophy is to embrace technology to enhance learning, not to use technology to replace learning. And all of our wraparound supports and services like health centers, library and tutoring, counseling, and academic advising are available in a virtual context. Finally, I'd add that there's been a big focus this summer on helping our students be prepared for a remote semester. We launched Sheridan Start, a free program that familiarizes new students with Sheridan's remote learning environment. It connects them to professors, advisors, and peers, and it teaches foundational concepts like literacy, numeracy, and time management. Our Learn Well program consists of virtual supports that have been embedded into 120 core courses and that connect students to peer tutoring and mentoring, counseling, and advising. And we're also allowing students to experience our fall term risk-free. New and returning students have until October 9th to test it out. If they're not satisfied, they can withdraw without academic penalty and get their money back. We will continue, all of us, will continue to act with integrity, we'll always focus on quality, and we'll be accountable. This is why enrolling or re-enrolling at Sheridan continues to be worth what I appreciate as a sizable investment.
Wow, that's incredible. Sheridan Start sounds amazing, and the fact that people can get their money back by October 9th. I understand there's been a lot of change at Sheridan since the pandemic. There's been voluntary retirements, part-time layoffs, and turnover in some senior academic positions. How much further change is coming in the midst of this economic crisis Sheridan is in?
Yeah, change. It's everywhere, it's ongoing, it seems relentless, doesn't it? So earlier this year, we forecasted a 20% reduction in domestic enrollment and a 40% reduction in international enrollment for the fall, something we dubbed the high impact scenario. So that scenario translates to a financial loss of over $80 million. This is why we've had the retirements and the layoffs that you referenced. We've also cut our operating expenses by 28% to help balance the books. Thankfully, the fall enrollment projections we made last spring have been pretty accurate. This is important because it fuels good and proactive planning. And it's in no small part thanks to the tireless work of everybody across all of our campuses, our programs, not just to attract new students, but to re-recruit returning students. We're not going to know our true fall enrollment numbers until October 9th. Remember, that's the deadline for students to withdraw without penalty based on how they feel about what we're offering. And so, still and forever, it's up to all of us to ensure that their experience is outstanding. The other challenge that I just want to be transparent about is that costs continue to rise. So we have new accountability now to our international students, such as quarantine rules, which have cost implications. We've had to decrease class sizes, which means running more sections. There's the additional cost of deeper and more frequent cleaning. And as a matter of principle, we reduce the ancillary fees we normally charge students, which means a hit to our revenue. Thankfully, years of effective financial management has given us a rainy day reserve, but we've had to dig into it and dig in deeply to survive this year. And I want to be really clear, we are going to need to be reliant on reserves again in 2021-22. International student visas remain significantly below last year's volumes, and international travel remains restricted. Questions persist about post-graduation work permits in Canada if learning is completed online. All of this is a huge deterrent to international enrollment. As conditions continue to evolve, we'll continue to communicate openly and frequently. We can't change what we can't control, but as always, my commitment is to keep the Sheridan community informed because overcoming this unprecedented global crisis demands our collective resolve.
I really appreciate your candor on that last question. I didn't even think about international students. It is all such a challenging time right now, and I appreciate the work Sheridan is doing. What message do you have for your employees about Sheridan's long-term capability to survive this storm we're all in?
Well, so, we're all consuming, I think, probably too much, but a lot of media these days. So, people will have seen reports, estimates that 50 post-secondary institutions in the US and another 13 in the UK are expected to declare bankruptcy and permanently close due to the economic and enrollment recessions brought on by the pandemic. Now, to be clear, do I think that's in store for Sheridan? Absolutely not. If there is a silver lining in this whole situation, it's that disruption drives innovation. And innovation, colleagues, is our sweet spot. We're comfortable with innovation, with entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship. We've always found ways to overcome obstacles in the past, like major recessions that threatened the future of industry and society, and we'll do it again. Post-secondary institutions are normally really slow to change. And yet, seemingly overnight, we've seen massive shifts in our sector, like the ability to work and teach from home. Sheridan has launched 3 new micro-credentials, and we're investigating the potential for market growth in some new postgraduate certificates. The pandemic is potentially catalyzing new areas of growth for us. We also know that some disciplines or credentials will be increasingly in demand. Healthcare, change leadership, science and technology behind automated, contactless manufacturing, for example. These are all skills that we teach, that we're renowned for. And I don't see those relenting anytime soon. The same holds true for critical thinking skills, something we teach in our applied humanities and social sciences, and more broadly, through the kinds of skills we're trying to instill in people through our emerging Sheridan Factor framework that was outlined in the strategic plan. Those skills and competencies are predicted to be among the last ones that will be replaced by artificial intelligence. All of that bodes well for Sheridan's future. Remember, my colleagues, the name of our strategic plan, Galvanizing Education for a Complex World. We're as well positioned as I think we can be.
Absolutely. And you mentioned in that answer that post-secondary schools can be very slow at things. Dr. Morrison, I want to talk to you as not only a journalism grad, Sheridan alumni, future employee, hopefully, but as a female Black woman in Canada. With the tragic killing of George Floyd and Rayshard Brooks, and most recently the horrific shooting of Jacob Blake that still gives me nightmares, there's been an open discussion and acknowledgement that systematic racism exists, and not just in the US, but in Canada as well. There also seems to be some momentum, a desire for change, but people keep losing their lives, and I'm getting cynical. What do you think it will take before we see real change?
Before I answer your question, Maluba, I need to again acknowledge that I am a white, cisgendered, able-bodied person of unearned privilege who's been afforded access to opportunities that have been denied to others. I have never experienced the injustice and the struggles that members of any marginalized community routinely face. That said, like many members of the Sheridan community, I am committed to continuing to educate myself about why and how injustice continues, to listening more, to learning to check my own bias, and to using my voice and my position of influence to advocate for meaningful change. To your point, I agree that there is momentum, but I also recognize that the dialogue about these injustices has become overly politicized. To make real progress, it's imperative that we focus on the core issue, and that is dismantling systemic racism and tackling oppression. Viewing this crisis as a political one runs the risk of losing the signal in the noise, or distracting us from the pressing work that needs to be done, and that would be not just unfortunate, but tragic. So Sheridan needs to remain squarely focused on affirming justice and a sense of community and belonging for everyone, and doing so completely separate from any political divide. We know that we need to do better as an organization, as a society, and as a country, and that's on all of us. You know, we can't leave this work to our colleagues who are Black, Indigenous, or people of color, as we've done for far too long. The burden is simply too large. But even with all of us working together, I don't think we can get to a point of reconciliation and lasting change unless we first deal with the uncomfortable truth. Without understanding the truth, we can't see what's broken, what kind of repair is needed, and how to rebuild. You know, I have to believe that if people really understood the pain, the suffering, the shameful truth of our history and the systems we've built, it would lead to remorse and regret and action. And that means all of us need to be on a path of listening, of learning, of unlearning, and relearning. Without truth, there will be no justice. And without justice, there can be no peace.
I mean this with the utmost respect, but I have read a lot of president's statements from institutions. I just need to ask a follow-up to that. I've read that Sheridan has made some specific commitments in the fight against anti-Black racism. Like I said, I also know that for years, organizations have made public statements, struck committees, and claimed to take a stand on equity and inclusion, though they stay pretty much the same. And you mentioned post-secondary schools do move slow. Does Sheridan honestly welcome the truth? And how will you ensure that something deeper than just surface level change really happens?
Yeah, so that's a really fair question, and I think one will continue to hear from our community and our communities, both internally and externally. You know, Sheridan's been on a journey of discovery for some time now. Our strategic plan and the very broad consultations that informed it was very clear on this point. Subsequent follow-up planning processes, absolutely the same message. Diversity fuels excellence, full stop. The actions and commitments we announced in June have already begun. Many of them were in train prior to this summer. They include things like mandatory training, hiring more Black, Indigenous, and racialized faculty, creating scholarships and working with community organizations to engage Black, Indigenous, and racialized youth in curricular areas that align with our programs. A really important first step was gathering baseline data on the demographic composition of our employees, which we did through the self-identification census. We needed that data to get a reflective assessment of our systems and our practices. It will also allow us to create evidence-based equity, diversity, and inclusion policy and action plans that are based on identified gaps, barriers, and trends. The results of that census have now been tabulated and formatted, and they'll be shared with the community this week in a downloadable report. You'll also be getting an invitation to a virtual town hall that will take place on September 28th, where the sponsors, our VP of HR, Ryan Piper, and our VP Inclusive Communities, Dr. Jane Gobia, will take us through the findings. As a community of educators, learners, and researchers, leaders, we have a shared responsibility and an accountability for addressing and preventing systemic racism, racial inequality, and injustice in all of our spaces, communities. I know that that commitment starts at the top. It means creating a leadership team at Sheridan that fundamentally believes people are our most valuable resource and who understand that Sheridan's success is entirely dependent on the contributions, the creativity, and the innovation of each and every employee. It means, frankly, having a vice president, Inclusive Communities, who is racialized and brings a wealth of professional experience and training in this field to the table. It means ensuring that that leader has a seat at the executive leadership table. I think it's reflected in the 300% base budget increase that we gave to the Center for Equity and Inclusion over a year ago, so that their work can be more than just a checkbox exercise. You know, this isn't just a phrase or some bandwagon we've jumped on. We're taking these steps because they're the right thing to do. And we're going to hold ourselves accountable by reporting on our progress to our board and our Equity, Diversity, and Inclusivity Committee. Over the summer, Sheridan signed on to the Black North Initiative, in which over 100 corporations, academic institutions, and other large organizations pledged to undertake similar commitments to the ones that we've announced. In that way, we're making our commitments and our reporting very public. I'm committed to making sure that Sheridan consistently lives up to its values. The first principles and the enablers that run through our strategic plan first and foremost, like equity and inclusion. What's never going to be negotiable at Sheridan is the idea that one group of people are somehow more important or valuable than others.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your transparency with that, and I do appreciate that you are saying, you know, hold Sheridan accountable. I am going to hold you accountable, and I'm so glad that you also mentioned that it's not just the job of Black and Indigenous people to end this problem. Racism is all our problem. So I'm really looking forward to those initiatives. This brings me to my last question. I've loved talking to you today. This pandemic is far from over. You know, I thought in March it would be over by June. I still planned a trip and all that. Now I've settled that, okay, we're in this for the long run. Many are predicting a second wave, and things could actually get worse when flu season starts. It may be too early to ask this question, but when you look back at everything Sheridan has done to navigate the impact of this pandemic, what are you proudest of?
Well, I always find it hard to point to one singular event, particularly on the issue of pride and Sheridan. You know, there's been so much that's happened since the pandemic began, but I have to say that the common thread connecting our achievements has really, truly, genuinely been the tireless contributions of our employees. You know, day in and day out, I'm inspired, I'm amazed by people's tenacity and the way that, you know, they've rallied together to make sure that we always put learners first. You know, I think back to March when over a 24-hour period, literally, every university and college across Canada announced that they'd be shutting down for a week to flip to emergency remote teaching. You know, that was history in the making, absolutely unprecedented. And somehow, we made it happen. In very short order, over 3,000 courses were retooled and rejigged at Sheridan. You know, I think about the over 100 emails we've sent to staff and students to keep people up to speed. I'm really proud of the hundreds of proactive phone calls we've made to learners to check in and see if they were okay. I've heard from countless parents and students since the spring, and while they don't always agree with our decisions, overwhelmingly, they acknowledge that we care deeply and genuinely. There's also the emergency bursary we created, distributing over $2 million in financial aid to students, all students, including international learners, easily a month before the Canadian government released details about its federal emergency student bursary. And the donations we've made of PPE, equipment that came from our shuttered healthcare centers or labs, much of which we actually 3D printed ourselves at Camden. It's one thing to have character listed as a pillar on your academic plan. It's on paper and any institution can do that. But it's really another to see it expressed in action over and over again, especially when the ideas for these endeavors bubbled up organically. There was no top-down directive on this. All of you made it happen. No matter the challenge that has come up, people have rallied and they've risen together and tackled it head on. It has been truly incredible.
Thank you, Dr. Morrison. I really do commend you and your whole staff for rolling with this change, because this is something we've never experienced, and you're right, we are part of history. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. I truly appreciate your transparency, and I'm sure that our audience does too. It speaks volumes about the level of respect that you must have for your community. It's been great to be back on campus, and I look forward to hearing more in the months ahead about all the great things happening here. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Maluba, and thank you, Dr. Morrison. As you said, adversity and challenges only make us better and more creative. For example, this morning, our very first virtual Welcome Back breakfast is the best one so far. Time to turn our attention now to another opportunity to acknowledge the tremendous contributions made by faculty with the presentation of Sheridan's Teaching Awards. As we all know, great teachers can be the catalyst that sparks a lifelong appetite for learning and discovery. To do the honors, I'd like to turn things over to Dr. Yael Katz, Vice Provost Academic at Sheridan. Yael?
Thank you, James. Sheridan's Teaching Awards recognize the many and significant contributions that our faculty and staff make to facilitate meaningful and transformative learning experiences for students across the Sheridan community. These awards align with the vision of Sheridan 2024, a mandate to foster a groundbreaking and standard-setting higher education, one that unleashes everyone's full potential and empowers people to flourish in an ever-changing world. These peer-nominated awards provide an opportunity to recognize and celebrate teaching and learning excellence at Sheridan. As the Vice Provost Academic, I am honored to introduce the award categories and nominees for Sheridan's second annual Teaching Awards. The Teaching Character Award recognizes a Sheridan faculty member who cultivates a sense of belonging within and beyond the classroom through a consistent, caring, and engaging teaching practice. The Scholarly Teaching and Learning Award recognizes a Sheridan faculty member who has demonstrated a reflective and responsive teaching practice grounded in scholarly inquiry that helps to address needs within a course or program. The Transformative Learning Award is a student-nominated award that recognizes a Sheridan faculty member or staff who fosters learning experiences and environments that are transformational, helping students to see themselves, their skills, disciplines, and/or the world differently. The Indigenous Learning in Partnership Award recognizes Sheridan employees and/or students who have contributed significantly to the experiences of Indigenous students, faculty, and/or staff. This award recognizes an educational initiative in which Indigenous histories, values, knowledge, ways of knowing and learning, and traditions are experienced within Sheridan and/or the broader community. The Collaborative Teaching and Learning Award for Excellence in Work-Integrated Learning recognizes Sheridan faculty, staff, administrators, and/or students who have worked collaboratively to heighten the classroom learning environment. It recognizes the fostering of excellence in work-integrated learning. The Collaborative Teaching and Learning Award for Excellence in Inclusion and Accessibility recognizes a Sheridan team of faculty, staff, administrators, and/or students who have worked collaboratively to foster inclusive and accessible learning environments. The award will be presented to the individual who has cultivated a sense of belonging within and beyond the classroom for students through a consistent, caring, and engaging teaching practice. Over to you, Janet.
Thank you, Yale. Good morning, everyone. My name is Janet Hsu. I am the Associate Dean in the Center for Teaching and Learning. It gives me great pleasure to announce the 2020 Sheridan Teaching Award recipients. This year's recipient for the Teaching Character Award is Dr. Jessica Poulos from the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences for her teaching collaboration between Sheridan and the Roy McMurtry Youth Center. Jessica's openness, respect, and unrelenting support for youth enrolled in this dual credit program made the learning truly transformational. Congratulations, Jessica. The recipient for the Scholarly Teaching and Learning Award is Ali Sobaminish from the English Language Studies program in the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. His teaching practices, which are grounded in research in psychology and education, enhance learners' engagement and motivation and calm anxieties. Congratulations, Ali. This year's Transformative Learning Award goes to Stephen Mazza from the Technical Theater Department, Faculty of Arts, Animation, and Design. Stephen's students provided heartfelt testimonials about his unwavering passion for teaching, the tremendous care and commitment he shows to our students, and the infinite ways that he prepares our graduates for industry. Congratulations, Steve. The recipients of the Indigenous Learning in Partnership Award are Dr. Farzana Chase from the Faculty of Applied Health and Community Studies and Dr. Bethany Osborne from the Center for Teaching and Learning. They created a series of classroom videos that introduce students to members of Sheridan's Indigenous community and provide students with the tools to be more effective allies. Congratulations, Farzana and Bethany. The recipient for the Collaborative Teaching and Learning Award for Excellence in Work-Integrated Learning is Carly Myers from the Welding Program in the Faculty of Applied Science and Technology. Carly's students voice deep appreciation for the confidence and knowledge that she has instilled in them and for her genuine dedication to creating an inclusive learning environment in which everyone can thrive. Congratulations, Carly. And this year's recipients of the Collaborative Teaching and Learning Award for Excellence in Inclusive and Accessible Learning are Paula Vandermeer, Koen Vanderstuken, Andrew Kuntz, and Jason Cornish, all instructors and faculty in Sheridan's Glass Studio, Faculty of Animation, Arts, and Design. The team is being recognized for the sense of belonging, family, and home that they have created, where everyone is treated equally, different learning styles are supported, and the student-teacher relationship is grounded in mutual respect. Thank you to all of this year's Teaching Award nominees and recipients. Individually and collectively, your dedicated efforts have helped to foster exceptional and innovative teaching and learning experiences at Sheridan. A heartfelt congratulations to all.
Congratulations to all those incredible teachers. Though I am not a teacher or have that distinction, I do like to teach. For example, people say to me, James, you're a foodie. How do you eat and also stay COVID safe? Well, what you do is you take 2 Sheridan masks and just fold them in half. And then here we go, you're safe. Want to take a bite? Just like that. You're welcome. All right, how's everyone doing? Are you good? You're probably wondering why I'm asking, because I can't hear you. But you know what? I can feel you. Over the past 6 months, Sheridan has been definitely busy, to say the least. Not only have you all flipped your courses and services to a new virtual model, one that was being built and delivered at the same time, but many of you have also contributed to Sheridan's community relief efforts in Brampton, Mississauga, and Oakville to help others through the pandemic. Please turn your attention to the next video created as a tribute to these Sheridan heroes. Take it away. This place is going to be sparkling and disinfected when you all get back here. Now, as you might know, another tradition at the Welcome Back Breakfast is the featured keynote speaker. I bet you thought it was me. We were going to have me do it, but you know what? Me on camera for that long, I'm very bald and shiny. We know people would drop off. It is not me. This year's speaker comes to us from the Bell Let's Talk speaking circuit. In fact, we have Lena DeMarco and the wonderful team at Bell Canada to thank for covering the cost of our keynote speaker this morning. Thank you to all of our friends at Bell. So, let me tell you a little bit about our guest, Dr. Ian Daw. Dr. Daw is an associate professor of psychiatry at U of T. He's the program chief and medical director of mental health at Trillium Health Partners in Mississauga. He's a frequent lecturer on topics including suicide prevention, mindfulness, and workplace mental health. His clinical research areas of interest include recovery, telemental health, and virtual care services, quality and patient safety, and health advocacy, just to name a few. Given that so many of us are no longer sure whether we work at home or we live at work, we thought he'd make a perfect addition to our lineup today. So please sit back, get comfortable, and get ready to really tune in for what will be a highly insightful and very practical discussion about resiliency, balance, and self-care. Dr. Daw, over to you.
Hello, my name is Ian Daw, and I'm an associate professor of psychiatry at the University of Toronto. I'm the program chief and the medical director of the mental health program at Trillium Health Partners in Mississauga. It's a pleasure to be with you today, even virtually, and I thank you for the opportunity. I've had the privilege to be connected with the Bell Let's Talk campaign for most of the last 10 years. And during that time, I've been talking with groups across Ontario on topics ranging from suicide prevention to mindfulness, interpersonal recovery-oriented care, and workplace mental health. I'm sure you know by now that we find ourselves at a unique and unprecedented moment in our lifetimes. There is much uncertainty and unrest in the world around us. Once again, we are shining a light on the structural and the systemic inequality in our society. And as COVID-19 restrictions begin to ease, students and educators are preparing for a return to schools. As educators, you will be called on to support your students in their transition back to the classroom, and at the same time, manage your own transitions and anxieties. So knowing that the pandemic will not be ending soon, what is this new reality that we're in? While much of the coming months remain uncertain, we are collectively focused on one overarching goal, and that is avoiding a second COVID-19 wave in Ontario. Masks, physical distancing, and getting tested as soon as possible if you have symptoms are the priorities that are summed up in the mantra of test, trace, and isolate. We look to our elected leaders for more resources for a safe return to school this September, and for continued border controls and post-entry protocols. As a healthcare leader, I'm focused on support for the people who need help. We're understandably hearing a lot about mental health promotion and resiliency these days. In the context of exposure to significant adversity, resilience is basically the capacity to adapt. Now, most of the resilience theories I've encountered in my work make good common sense, and almost all of the theories overlap in three ways. Resilient people, by and large, possess these characteristics. They have a staunch, non-judgmental acceptance of reality as it is, an uncanny ability to improvise, and a deep belief, often buttressed by strongly held principles and values, that life is meaningful. While it's true that one can bounce back from hardship with just one or two of these qualities, you'll only be truly resilient when you're working with all three. But it's important to realize that it's not enough just to tell people to get resilient, particularly because the virus, our response to it, and the social and economic costs of that response have threatened the very basis of what we have used to be resilient in the past, namely our identities, our connections, jobs, routines, and our food and financial security. To cope well now, we may have to repair, replace, or rebuild those basic fundamental underpinnings of our identities. And as part of that, I think self-care is incredibly important, especially because self-care is something that we can and should be doing for ourselves. As a psychiatrist, I've long been excited about the notion of co-production, which sees people who come for care not as traditional patients, but as genuine partners and participants in that care. Co-production seeks to support them, to recognize and engage with and develop their own sense of resourcefulness, and to build on their own unique range of capabilities. Self-care is a general way of living in which you prioritize your own well-being to live a healthier life. On a deeper level, self-care really consists of three interdependent components: mental, emotional, and physical. Now, mental self-care involves activities that help declutter your mind and reduce your stress levels. I'll give you an example. Much of the high levels of anxiety and stress we're seeing now in society are fueled by the way we think. These aren't biological targets of medication. They're real psychological stresses that could never be medicated away by a pill. If you're having thoughts such as, I'm going to get sick and I'll die, or there's nothing I can do, or I'm not going to be able to cope, you're going to understandably be very distressed. However, it's important to realize that not all of our thoughts are actual facts. Many are simply just thoughts or worries or beliefs that we hold. Just because we think something does not make it true, no matter how familiar it might be. So we encourage people to challenge their negative thoughts. Do not accept worry and distress as inevitable. Focus on adapting to these new situations without losing sight of the values that make you who you actually are. Emotional self-care involves caring for your emotional health in order to attain emotional well-being. The key here is to get in touch with your emotions. This can mean taking some time to meditate, write in your journal, practice gratitude by reflecting or sharing with others, talking with a close friend, or even leaving positive notes for yourself. Be open to trying a variety of calming techniques. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to finding resources to encourage relaxation, meditation, or mindfulness. So check out a variety of different practices and see what works to calm your mind and body. A good starting point might be meditation apps such as Calm, Zenvelo, or Headspace. To get started, all you need is a few minutes each day. Later, you might want to work up to 10, 20, or 30 minutes. But by scheduling that time each day to care for your emotional and mental health, you can reduce your stress and you will improve your overall happiness. Now, because we can't really mentally self-care in isolation of our physical well-being, I do also want to really encourage you to keep a consistent sleep schedule. Limit the amount of caffeine, alcohol, or marijuana that you may be using, and make sure that you participate in some physical activity every day. I also want to encourage you to engage with other people. You might be still physically separated, but connecting within your bubbles. Use the phone, virtual tools, social media platforms. Use whatever approach that can help you maintain a sense of belonging. For we are social beings by nature, and being isolated and alone for a prolonged time can be incredibly damaging to our well-being. In normal times, working and living in separate places provided some buffer between an employee's home and work life. The distinction between our personal and professional selves is common across cultures, and it does have benefits. Though we always carry some of the impact of work at home, we can physically leave a toxic culture, difficult meetings, and problematic colleagues at the workplace. But no longer. Those forced to work from home now have no such hiding place, switching a potential sanctuary from work stress to the arena in which it actually plays out. The key is to invent new ways to preserve old routines. Maintaining a sense of familiarity and consistency is both comforting and therapeutic in times of upheaval. But it's also practical. The first step is to keep the structure of the day the same as it's typically been. Now, beyond the benefits of familiarity, maintaining a regular schedule will give you firm guideposts, building your work and child culture schedules together. Next, build a schedule that each week incorporates those routines at a high level, but it's modified to account for your work blocks and other responsibilities such as meals, chores, and childcare. In your planning, make sure you've covered what is your kids' schedule? What will you have for each meal? Who will do and when will you do those chores? Laundry, dishes, tidying, cleaning. When are your key work meetings or times? It's critical for you to have someone cover your work while you may handle a household task. Take all of that information and put it into a calendar and start assigning shifts and duties to specific family members. The next step is to create work blocks. It will really feel like you need to squeeze every ounce of productivity out of every minute in the day. And it is a reality that many of us will have to find time to work early in the mornings or after the kids are in bed. But be sure to schedule breaks and unstructured time to unwind and connect with your partner and your kids. This is going to be a marathon, and it's important we find ways not to burn out. Finally, you can swap in new ways to do old things. If your kids are used to having play dates or weekly activities, find ways to keep those events on the calendar, perhaps just in a new form. A play date can be as simple as the kids catching up or coloring together, or one of the parents leading an activity or reading a book. Creative athletic activities. Make sure you schedule those things for your children too. Schedule them during times they might otherwise be doing after school activities. They really should get some exercise every day. And this could mean even just going into the backyard and doing some soccer drills or playing catch. I'd also like to talk about adult relationships. For many workers who cohabit, the move to working from home in the middle of this global crisis doesn't just affect them, it impacts their partners too. While in normal times, most couples witness their partner's work stress, few have the experience of living with it so closely, day after day, week after week. It's one thing to hear about your partner's difficult boss. It's another to see your loved one as they're being berated over a video conference. Living with our partner's work in such close quarters is novel for most couples. And few of us have a reliable playbook for dealing with each other's stress. So how can we acknowledge our partner's work stress in a way that bolsters their emotional well-being and our own, while recognizing that we cannot remove the root cause of that stress that they're experiencing? Well, here are 5 things you can consider. Give the gift of regular, undivided attention. Although many couples are now together all of the time, I found that a lot of them are still feeling lonely in their relationships. By having to pack so much into each day, work, household chores, and for some, homeschooling, they end up neglecting each other. Yet, having our loved ones' undivided attention, a time in which we can openly share and vent our frustrations, is one of the best relief valves for stress. Couples can help each other and their relationships by giving each other 15 minutes of undivided attention at the end of every day, where they simply agree to listen openly and attentively. No suggestions, no advice. Check how best to support your partner. The stress that we're currently experiencing is unlike the stress that most of us have encountered before. The type of support people crave has often now shifted too. Those of us who used to prefer emotional support, for example, may now value a practical hand the most. And with that in mind, it's important to ask your partner what they need, rather than just assuming that what you did before will still be the most useful. Figuring out what your partner needs will help you invest your energy in a way that has maximum relationship return. Letting them know what you need and can offer will help you avoid neglect and resentment as well. Create boundaries between work and home. The workplace may no longer be miles away, but couples should still create some space between work and home. A good starting point is to cordon off physical spaces in the house where work is off limits, such as the bedroom, the yard, and the times of day that are work-free, like regular breaks during the daytime and a hard stop at some point in the evening. Having these mini schedules creates temporary leave from work and stress, and it leaves that behind and allows you to get released from its toxic effects. Find time apart. Seeking time apart from your partner may actually feel strange in a time of isolation, but it's vital to care for yourself and your relationship. It might be a solitary walk around the block each day, an agreement to work in separate rooms, or evenings actually spent on different activities. Whatever it is, this time will help you recharge and take some distance from your partner's work stress so that you can be not both incapacitated by it. And as absence makes the heart grow fonder, it will also do wonders for your relationship. Activate virtual support networks. None of us can get all of the support that we need from our partners, even if they may be the only adults that we've meaningfully interacted with in person for months. To take the pressure off your partnership, it's useful to discuss what other sources of support you have to help manage work stress and how you can draw on them. It might be colleagues or peers from your professional networks, friends or family members, or maybe a coach, a counselor, or a therapist. Whoever they are, it helps to actively reach out to them to increase your capacity to help ourselves and help our partners manage work stress. It may well feel counterintuitive, but stepping away from your partner's stress and creating boundaries to fence it out often is the best way to support them and yourself in the long term. This is the necessary complement to the regular undivided attention and focused support. The combination will allow you to remain close and caring without being caught into that stress yourself. And it'll ultimately help both your careers and your relationship. Let me end with a few words about your students. As educational leaders and as members of a teaching and learning community, it will be important to validate, listen, and be supportive to your students. The recent events will likely have had substantial impacts on them, and they may be experiencing a host of emotions in regards to their return, including anxiety, disappointment, and anger. Listen to their concerns, and even if the emotions are extreme, express understanding and empathy. Letting them know you understand and appreciate their perspective will help open a dialogue for problem solving. Be honest and encouraging rather than reassuring. Anxious students will likely need some initial assurance from trusted adults that are returning to school. However, blanket reassurance statements doubt and uncertainty that may drive a cyclical cycle for the need for ongoing reassurance. Instead, being open, honest, and encouraging with students is the preferred approach. This may include acknowledging risks while emphasizing how precautions reduce those risks and how students can feel good about coming back to school given all of the thought and planning that has gone into protecting them. Identify the problem, identify potential and possible solutions, pick a solution, and then try it out. Don't let passivity win. Don't let anxiety win. Model good coping behaviors for students and for yourselves. Be calm, honest, and caring. People will look to you to be positive role models throughout this process. How you handle your own fears and your own stress and how you act throughout the day will impact how others assess their situations and how they react. Letting students know your own experiences with the anxiety and uncertainty, as well as your coping strategies, can make them feel less alone and can provide them with a guide on how to handle the situation themselves. These situations can be upsetting to think about, but we can try to take things one day at a time and enjoy the current day rather than worry about what the future holds, especially when that future can be somewhat uncertain. These are challenging discussions that aren't easy for anyone, but helping others develop the ability to be comfortable being uncomfortable will help them cope with future issues. Thank you so much for inviting me to join your annual signature event. I hope the ideas and the experiences that I've shared with you will help you find balance, comfort, and confidence. And I wish you all of the very best for your upcoming academic year.
Growing hair, you will grow hair, you can grow. Oh, we're back. Okay, hey. Sorry everyone, I wanted to put that great advice to work and self-reflect, meditate, and just take some time for me. Just when you thought that this event couldn't get any better, and I know that that's exactly what you're thinking, it's now my great pleasure to introduce this year's musical guests. Season is a singing group comprised of 3 fourth-year students, CJ Capital, Seth Zosky, and Matthew Noveri Joseph from Sheridan's Music Theater program. This past June, they were the winners of Breakfast Television's Canadians Families Got Talent competition, making it to the final round of judging as fan favorites. A huge thank you to everyone at Sheridan who helped vote them in. The final round was judged by none other than Simon Cowell, who invited the winning trio on to the next season of America's Got Talent, calling them very current, very cool, very likable, and most importantly, very Sheridan. He didn't say that. He said really talented, creative, and inventive. Here, virtually to perform two of their songs, Friends and Moving On. Ladies and gentlemen, Season.
Yo, what's up, Sheridan? So I'm Capital.
I'm Zosky.
And I'm Nova.
And we go by the name of Season, CZN.
Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. Big shout out to Shelly Barr for setting this all up and getting us in contact. But we want to say a big thank you to you, the faculty and staff of Sheridan College. Yes. Thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you so much.
Yes, we know that a lot of things are moving online right now in these crazy times, and you know, us students, we're here with you, and we're going to keep working, and thank you for doing what you do. We're Season, again, and this is Friends. I hope you enjoy it.
Let's go, Zosky. What you got to say?
Hey.
Jeez. Been seeing you through the screen. We gotta find a new routine. Next to you is more than enough, 'cause I can feel it. You're my diamond in the rough.
Whoa, we link up, ain't nothing but a beat.
No.
You move, heaven and earth just to see me. And I'm still not your man. I don't understand.
'Cause we talk every night and you talk like you're mine. Crossing the line that we walk every time, and I know you're alone. It's hard on your own. I'm calling, but you don't hear the love in my tone. This moment we live in is so real. Gotta take the time to tell me how you feel. This moment we live in is so real. Gotta take the time to tell you how I feel. Pull up, come over. Dim the lights lower. We need to get closer, 'cause I can tell we're more than just friends.
They're feeling us lately, but this doesn't come easy.
moment and read it. If it's best, I repeat it. I'm trying to show you I need it. I write a text and delete it. If you know it's real, don't matter how they see it. If you know it's real, then I gotta believe it. Say less. I know that you've been feeling all this stress. Say less. I wanna take the pressure off your chest. Say less. I wanna be the one who does it best. I can be the one that does it like nobody else.
Pull up, we gon' run up. I want you right beside me when I wake up. Let me know when you're falling, cause I'm already in love. Got that mind in the body, you're a gift from up above.
When your hips sway, ain't no foreplay. Girl, you run me. All I really gotta say is my bad. Then he made the first move, now you're chilling with a waste man. So sad. That he wants you all to himself. Cause we still
talk every night and you talk at your mind. Crossing our line that we walk every time. And I know you're alone, it's hard on your own. I'm calling, but you don't hear the love in my tone. This moment we live in is so real. Gotta take the time to tell me how you feel. This moment we live in is so real. Gotta take the time to tell you how I feel.
come on, pull up, come over. We'll dim the lights lower. Need to get closer, cause I can tell we're more than just friends.
Been feeling us lately, but this doesn't come easy. Baby, believe me, cause I can tell we're more than just friends.
Pull up, come over. We'll dim the lights lower. Need to get closer, cause I can tell we're more than just friends. Feeling us lately, but this doesn't come easy. Baby, believe me, cause I can tell we're more than just friends.
Jeez. And that's a vibe.
Again, that's Capital, Zosky, Nova, and we out.
We're actually about to hit our 4th year of music theater.
Yes, sir, yes, sir. And you know, this group, Season, was actually created in Mary Lou Zahalin's contemporary commercial performance program. So thank you so much, because really this wouldn't have been possible without you.
Yes, and with that, this season we were fortunate enough to have won the Canadian Families Got Talent competition this past summer. As put on by Breakfast Television, City TV, and we were actually chosen by the legend Simon Cowell as the winner, so it was pretty cool. And it all started at Sheridan, so...
Boom, boom, boom. Absolutely. Super sick. This next song that we have coming up for you is called Moving On. It's unreleased. It comes out September 18th, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. You can find all of our information, everything, at seasonmusic.ca. That's our website. CZNmusic.ca. Hope you enjoy it.
Hey, thank you, Sheridan. Seasons go.
You say that you wanna leave, girl, and yet you're still here with me, girl. I don't know what to believe. What do I gotta go through to get that text from you?
I go wherever you go, you just push me away. Cause I've been spending hours on my phone, and I'm wishing you were with me. All I wanna do is
slip and slide while we wine and dine. Girl, you're so divine, got me on cloud 9. When you look at me, do it honestly. Why you playing me right now?
You push me to the edge, you're living in my head. You say you're moving on, but you're sleeping in my bed. You push me to the edge with everything you said. Used to send me hearts, now you're leaving me unread.
You push me to the edge, you're living in my head.
Say you're moving on, but you're sleeping in my bed.
So you push me to the edge with everything you said.
Used to send me hearts, now you're leaving me unread. Pushing and pulling, I'm trying to get to your love. And if practice makes perfect, well then we fit like a glove. All the distance between us, let me get in your space. If we just take time, it'll all fall in place.
Looking at you, drop it down low.
Oh God.
I swear to you, I'm falling for your love though. I'm trying to tell you everything you don't know, so there's no problems, we just go with the flow.
Come choose me, nobody does it better. I know that you prefer a go-getter. I guarantee we'll make it through the weather. Naturally, what we gonna
Let's go slip and slide while we whine and dine. Girl, you're so divine, got me on cloud 9. When you look at me, do it honestly. Why you playing me right now? Let's go.
Push me to the edge, you're living living in my head. You say you're moving on, but you're sleeping in my bed. You push me to the edge with everything you say. Used to set me high, now you're leaving me on red.
You push me to the edge, you're living in my head. Say you're moving on, but you're sleeping in my bed. Say you push me to the edge with everything you said.
Used to set me high, now you're leaving me on red.
Break it down.
You used to call me on a weekday, and now your voicemail is on replay.
I wish that I could see you coming my way,
but now I have to see you from the driveway. So come on, be my one and only. And there's no one else for me to love. 'Cause you know, you should be my shorty.
and now, girl, it's time
The
to
slip and slide while we wine and dine. Girl, you're so divine, got me on cloud nine. When you look at me, do it honestly while you playing me right now.
Jeez. Thank you so much.
All right, big respect, yo.
Take
So
it
my
easy.
name is Capital.
And I'm Zoski.
And I'm Nova.
We go by the name of Season. We out.
That was absolutely amazing. How about a big round of applause for Season? I know it really doesn't work this year, but if we all clap loud enough, they just might hear us. I didn't see the tape until just now as you saw it live, and that was really, really great, guys. I have a feeling we're going to hear a lot more from Season. These guys are the real deal. Thanks, Season, for sharing your love of music, art, harmony, and rhythm with us all this morning. So with that, I am sad to say that we are nearing the end of our show. I have just a final few housekeeping reminders to share. For all the non-full-time folks who are used to fill out timesheets for attending this event, this year your attendance has been recorded as part of your registration and sign-in. And I think at our peak we were at 1,600 people, and we're down to about 1,400. So that's a lot of retention. So thank you for staying tuned. Details about compensation will be in the Insider. Later today, all of you will be receiving an email with a post-event survey so that you can tell us how we did, how we can make this event an even better one next year. Let us know. Next week's Insider will also include a recap of the event, so please tell any of your colleagues who couldn't make it today to check it out. At every Welcome Back, we invite you to support students in need by donating non-perishable food goods to the Sheridan Student Union Food Bank. For obvious reasons, we couldn't do that today, so we're keeping the tradition alive by sharing a link to SSU's virtual Food First campaign, which accepts monetary donations from anyone who is inclined and able to contribute. SSU has offered electronic grocery gift cards to over 800 students since the start of the pandemic, and they thank you so much for your continued support. Now, you'll want to hang on for just a few more minutes before you close down your screen because we have our final two prize giveaways. Prize number 4 is a hand-drawn custom cartoon portrait by Doodleistic Cartoons. They'll accommodate up to 6 people and our pets in your portrait. And our winner of your family cartoon, including your family and friends, goes to... Hey, congratulations, Richard, you've won. I hope you have a bunch of family and pets to make a great cartoon. Finally, prize number 5 are 2 Sheridan branded Muskoka bear chair kits fabricated in South River, Ontario, so you can bring some familiar Sheridan spirit home and keep the summer vibe going just a little bit longer. It's getting cold, but summer's not over yet. And the winner of this morning's final prize is... Hey, Steve, congratulations. Good stuff. Well, now this really is the end of the show. In closing, I want to thank all of our guest speakers and entertainers today, as well, most importantly, you for tuning in. And to keep the spirit of today's event going throughout the academic year ahead, there's one final surprise I've been asked to announce. As a thank you to all of our employees for their continued support and dedication, and in keeping with Sheridan's commitment to health and wellness this year, we're giving all active employees 1-year access to Headspace. Headspace is an app focused on helping people be at their very best, both at home and at work. With the app, you can explore various topics about well-being and access over 1,000 hours of guided mindfulness, meditation courses, sleep exercises, and so much more. Stay tuned as more information will be provided through Sheridan Central and the Insider in coming weeks. To close out the show, we're leaving you with the crowdsourced collection of photos that you sent in during the past few weeks, showing your Sheridan spirit at home. We know that you weren't able to connect with one another in person today, but we hope that this video will bring just a small piece of Sheridan back to wherever you are watching today. It has been an absolute blast. Thank you so much, Sheridan. To come back on campus it's just fantastic to be here again. Thanks for having me. Take care and have a great year ahead.